and now start over.
Okay, so welcome everybody. No, I'm not gonna say. Um, so yeah, there are some little things that could reduce seller's bottom line. Home warranty, all right, what, $500-600? Usually though, that's not factored in when you talk about escalations because you're probably going to end up at the same place anyway with the offer that wins because those other things are pretty small dollar items usually. What about rent back? Do you think rent back should be considered a seller concession?
See, I hadn't thought of that.
Because
And it's real money.
it's money. It can sometimes rent backs can be a lot of money, but concessions are usually seen as something the seller is benefiting the buyer with, of course. With a rent back, though, the sellers they are getting something in return. They get to stay in the home. So I guess I could see different arguments on that, whether that could be seller concession or not. But if you've got a rent back and say you're comparing two offers, one's offering for free, one's charging you, well, that could definitely go into your calculation here. All right, well, maybe we'll consider that. All right, so generally though, it's going to be the sales price minus seller subsidy and any buyer broker compensation that's also in the offer. Okay, I'm trying to advance slide here. All right, we got it. So here's some more text from the escalation clause. And this is really where it comes down to, okay, what do we do? We got two offers. One's got an escalation clause, or both of them do. And I'll just read this out. If prior to ratification of the contract, so of course, we're not going to mess around with any change in sales price after ratification. It's too late. Prior to ratification, seller gets one or more additional written, not verbal, hey, we're going to make an offer. No, put it in writing. Bona fide offers to purchase property with terms acceptable to seller. Now that's important. We may come back to that. And I've already started to mention. Let me ask you this. Does the seller, are they required to take whichever offer is going to get them more money? No, they don't have to. Other terms acceptable. And it's pretty easy for a seller to say, I don't like this offer and here's why. Contingencies, closing dates. There's all kinds of things that go in there. Really smart guy said to me once, price is one thing, but terms are another. And okay, we'll keep going. And from which seller would receive equal to a higher net than the net reflected in this offer. Again, we're mostly talking about nets. Then this contract sales price automatically increased to an amount which generates a net equal to blank above any other offers net. Okay, so to stop there, and you'll see the math, don't worry. But what we're going to be doing in this offer comparison and using the escalation clauses is raising the price. I know we're all talking about net mostly, and there's this escalation factor, which is also adding to the other offers net, but you got to raise the price to get to the net of where you need it to be. Okay. You can't just change the net because your prices can, of course, follow from that. But I've got a couple examples. You'll see how it works. Don't worry. And then there's a max price. Not to exceed a maximum sale price of blank. Okay. Well, it's better to do this. All right. And here's just to really reiterate, it's kind of a, I'll just read it, but if seller receives another offer equal to a higher net, this offer's price increases to a price, which yields blank above the other offer's net. So price and net. What should be the escalation factor? So you're writing this up. You've got your offer. $1,000, $25K. 25 is about the highest I've ever seen. And 1,000, I mean, you're talking about lower dollar values. I mean, here's with sales prices, here's one way to think about it. If you're in the $2 million range, is $1,000 gonna really convince the sellers to take your offer? I mean, that's kind of a drop in the bucket. I mean, so, and there's not really a rule of thumb here to go by, but I'll just, other than to say, the higher the sales price, probably you're going to lean towards a higher escalation factor because you want your offer accepted. Of course, your buyers want the home. That's why you're writing on it. But you've got to make your offer attractive at $1,000 in a $2 million place. It's just, that's not a whole lot that's going to set you apart. Okay. Yes, Cameron.
Right.
Well, what we're talking about here, Cameron, is the escalation factor. And this is what's going to go in the first blank line on your escalation clause. So if you look at it right there, what you're doing here is you're putting down how much more the seller is going to walk away with in your escalation clause. How much more than another offer you're comparing listing agent's going to compare your offer to. Okay. That's where the attraction comes in. Hey, come with us. You'll get this much more. Okay. Okay. How much? Well, what do you put here on the second blank line, the escalation clause? Well, it's of course, all this you got to talk to your buyer, but the question really is, all right, buyer, how high are you willing to go? That's really it. I mean, we're talking about net a lot, of course, with this, which drives what the seller walks away with. But when we're talking sales price, well, that's what's coming out of the buyer's pocket. What are they paying? Not really sure how else to say. It's just talking to your buyer, how high you willing to go. That's really what it comes down to.
Well, just so everyone knows, I think I did the numbers a couple of weeks ago that of the properties, that's fine. Of the properties that are escalating, the average is 4% above the closed price above the asking price. So if you're talking $1 million, we're seeing an average of like $42,000 above that million.
Okay, that's helpful.
Because only half the properties are selling over asking price.
Okay, all right. I love the stats. You know,
Yeah.
Anthony, every team meeting he brings the numbers. Anthony is a numbers guy. I like that. Okay, and I'll just mention this quickly, but there's a way to make your offer more attractive with the escalation clause. There's that part right in the middle of the form. We're going to waive the appraisal or retain the appraisal. Of course, makes the offer more attractive if you don't have an appraisal contingency. Because some people think, well, you're just going to escalate high, then you're going to rely on the appraisal contingency to bring the price back down. But again, the buyer needs to understand the risk, and they need to be able to tell you, all right, that's fine. I can waive the appraisal because I got the cash to back it up if it comes in low. Yes.
I'm sorry. So on option one, they're already put this overrides the appraisal that's in the appraisal, the financing contingency, this language here.
If the escalation clause comes into play, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, this would remove it. But there is that warning, by the way, if it's VA or FHA financing, you all probably know that this paragraph, that you cannot waive the appraisal. That has to be contingent on an appraisal. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So step one, let's say we're comparing offers. They both have escalation clauses. The first step is to figure out, all right, I'll back up. What if you have more than two? You have 10 offers. A good starting point is really, of course, let's just set aside the ones that aren't even in contention. You do have to present
3 through 10.
You have to present them all to your seller because that's what the rules say, of course. So do it. But when you're actually doing the math, say, okay, well, let's just start here. And if there are other terms in the other offers, which still would yield a lower net for the seller, okay, you can talk to that with your client. But if you're just going to look at the numbers, start with the two offers that would end up with the highest possible max nets. Okay, which is real easy. Okay, we'll look at your max sales price, look at your concessions, what's your max net on that offer. So $1 million max sales price. Say you got $5,000 concession. Well, there you go. That's just easy math. Here's one comparison. Say you got offer one, offer two. 550, 540. Offer one's got 2,500 subsidy. They've got an escalation factor in their clause. So the first blank line on the form we're looking at, on offer one, $5,000. Offer two, $10,000 is what they wrote on the first blank line, the escalation factor. Offer one's got a max price, $575. Offer two, max price, $580. So first you can see, all right, max net. It's again, simple math. Well, all I did here is take the max price on offer one and subtract the subsidy to get to $572.5.
Okay.
That's going to be the max net for the seller on offer one if they take that one. But offer two, there's no subsidy. So the max net is the same as the max price. We will talk later about compensation, brokerage compensation, and how that works in. Don't worry. This is just for simplicity to get started. Okay. So say those are the two offers. We're going to go up against each other. Number two, you're going to calculate the starting net before you escalate. You can't really just start with the max net and go from there, because you'll see when we're comparing offers with escalation clauses, they're going to bounce from each other. Okay, you'll add the escalation factor to one. What's that net? All right, go back to the other one. What's that escalation factor acted in? This is just to figure out which two offers are we going to start to compare. If you have more than two, you say, okay, well, if we're trying to get to just the dollar value that's going to yield highest for the seller, let's start with these two highest ones. And then go from there. So start calculating the beginning net before any escalation of both the offers. So back here, the beginning net, simple math. Offer two, 540. That's just exactly what the sales price is. No subsidy. Again, sorry, no broker compensation yet. We'll get there. Offer one, starting net is the 547.5. You can see how I got there. Okay. So next, what do? Well, you've got to add the escalation factor in the offer with the lower net, which is offer two, to the net of the other offer. And here's what it looks like. So offer one had a starting net of 547.5, which was off higher than the net of offer two, which is only the 540. Offer two had an escalation factor of 10 grand. So what you do is offer one, you take that net, add 10 grand, you get to the escalated net of offer two, 557. You see that? Sometimes when people first look at this, they say, wait a minute, but my escalation factor was 10 grand, but my sales price is going up by 17,500. How can that be? Again, it's all because you're comparing nets. And then when you figure out what the nets are, then you got to figure out what the sales price needs to be to get you there. Everybody see that?
Yeah.
Any questions?
So it should be before we would have just added 10 grand to the 540.
Right.
And now we don't do that.
Yeah, well, you still had subsidies before, but now that broker compensation's on the contract, it does get more complicated, but I will get there, don't worry. So now what do we have? We've got escalated net offer two, 557.5, offer one. Well, they haven't changed yet. We haven't escalated that one. That's still at a net of 547.5. And remember the language on the escalation clause. Then I can find it. Yeah. So look at your escalation clause right after the second blank line. If other offers include escalation terms, this automatic increase will be applied to the maximum escalated net of the highest competing escalation addendum. This is where you're going back and forth. Okay. All right. So step four, you're going to calculate the sales price of offer two. Now that's easy. The question to ask is, what price did you get to the escalated net? Well, again, offer two is piece of cake because there's no concession. So your net is the same as the sales price on offer two. Okay. Okay. So now we've got to increase the net on offer one because offer two's net went higher. Offer one had a escalation factor of 5 grand. If you remember, we're going to add 5 grand to the net on offer two. And then this gets to escalated net on offer one, 562.5. Everybody see that? And then the question is, what sales price do you have to get to make that your net on offer one? Any guesses? You want to do the math in your head? Quick chat GPT.
I'd rather.
565.
Okay.
So you need a price of offer one of 565 to get to a net of 562.5. And again, we want the net of 562.5 because that's 5 grand higher than the net on offer two. Everybody see that?
Yeah.
All right. Everybody there? Any questions? Okay. Now we got to go back. We have to go back to offer two because here we are. We've got a net on offer one, 562.5, which is higher than 557.5. We add 10 grand. 10 grand was the escalation factor at offer two. Add that to the net that we left with, offer one. Now we're at an escalated net on offer two, 572.5. Everybody see that?
Yes, sir.
Which is the same as the price because there's no concession. Great. All right, we got to go back the other way. Add 5 grand to 572. We're going to try to increase the net to 577, 5,800 on offer one. We have to get there because that's 5 grand more than the net we left off with on offer two. To get there, you got to have an escalated price of 580. But wait a minute. Oh no.
Yeah, okay.
You exceeded the escalated max sales price. The max sales price on offer one's escalation clause was 575. Can't do that. Now, I told you the math isn't always going to work out. I mean, they didn't get straight to the 575 max sales price, and it didn't end up there on offer two either. But if you're a listing agent in this situation, what do? You can just talk to your seller and your seller say, all right, Anthony, let's just take offer two. They won. Or you're as a listing agent say, you know what? We could go back one more time to offer one and say, look, we did the math. You don't win. But if you want to win, you got to get here. Can you do that? Talk to your client. Let me know. Okay. So despite what the math works out to be and who wins, who loses, of course, this is just the basic negotiation. As a listing agent, you go back and say, all right, can you do this? Can't? Sorry, but your buyers can't find another house. Any questions so far? How are we doing?
I just wanted to know if you're going to send this out in an email, so we'll have this to be able to work off of it.
Absolutely. Anthony, Monica already have this, so they can shoot it right over to you. You guys know who,
Great, thank
everyone
you.
who's on the line with us?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, great. They'll send it to you. Okay, so offer two wins, at least just the numbers. But still, as a listing agent, who's really going to get the home? Well, that comes down to negotiation if you want to go back to offer one. And sure, they can ask offer one for a higher offer. And of course, anytime what you can do is say, you know what, we're going to make a counter offer. I'm just going to strike the escalation addendum. We'll put a new sales price on there. Let me know if your buyer agrees. So you can just strike that out of the counter offer. I was talking to earlier this week, a group of agents about escalation clauses, and one of the agents told me, he said, you know what, I don't even take them. When I'm a listing agent, I say, thanks for your offer. We would like another offer. Forget the escalation clause, just make your highest and best.
Mhm.
He doesn't even want to do the math.
Yeah.
So
That sounds good.
yeah,
I've had that.
yeah,
I don't do that, but I've had to say, we're not doing escalation.
right.
I then write my escalation.
Okay, well, you do it anyway. Well,
But
thank
I
you.
get it. I get where they're coming from.
Yeah, thank you. But here's a written offer, and now I know that you've got to present it to your seller.
Right.
All right, how about broker compensation? It does get a little more complicated here. Now, I put in this example just 2.5% to make it both even on both offers. But of course, you're going to see, and we have seen offers which have something different. 1% or no percent. But let's just use this for illustration. So I've got offer one, same price, same, not the same subsidy. Sorry, they had 5 grand and 2.5% buyer broker compensation they're asking for. Offer two, still no subsidy, same percentage compensation. With that price though, it works out to 13.5. So the starting nets we've got 531, 250, 526, 500. Everybody see that simple math? All we're doing is adding in the broker compensation. Same escalation factors, same max prices. Okay. So same thing. Since offer one had a higher starting net, then we take the escalation factor, which was from offer two, and add that and get to an escalated price. Well, this is back to our question. So what sales price do we need so that the net on the escalation will be the escalation factor more than the net on the other offer?
Yeah.
So what sales price do we need to get to a net on offer two of 541, 250? Because we're adding 10K to the net on offer one. Price has to go up by 15 and 128. I told you the
Yeah.
numbers weren't going to be big round numbers. it's going to have to look like this. Why? Because that's the only way you're going to get to a net of 541,250 on offer one,
Because the commission on the higher price.
because of the commission on the higher price. That's right.
It makes it a weird number.
Did you say commission? I think it's called
Compensation.
compensation. That's right.
The
Yeah.
banana salad
That-
on the, yeah.
Compensate. You need to take that out of your vocabulary.
I do, yeah.
Everybody see that? Offer two price got to be 555, 128. That's how the math works out. And every time you change the price, and you've got percentages that come down, that bring down the seller's net, like compensation,
Mhm.
then it's going to be a funky number. So how does offer one get to a net of 546,250? Why is that our target? Because it's $5,000 more than 541,250. See, right now we're at this place where the net on offer two is higher.
Mhm.
They increased their price. So we got to add $5,000 to offer one to get that net up to 546,250. Well, the price is going to have to be 565,385 on offer one. There are some simple calculators that do this for you. Don't worry. When I put this together, I did it all in a calculator the really hard way. I didn't do it on paper,
Mhm.
but there are, and Anthony's got one, and I do have one too. I made one up. Yeah, I figured out Excel somehow,
Mhm.
but it's really not that hard when you put it in an easy, easy calculation tool.
Prism? I
I didn't do it in Prism. No.
think I'll try it in Prism.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So here's where we're at. Offer one price has got to get up to 565, 385, because that's the only way they're going to get to a net, which is $5,000 higher than the net we're showing here in offer two. Net of 546,250. Well, back the other way. Well, now offer two, they got to go up on the price to 570,512, because that's what's going to get their net up to 10 grand more than the other net. Everybody see that?
Mhm.
The max sales price on offer one is what's killing them.
Yeah.
They did not strategically write that offer well, because they keep bumping up against that. Offer two is going to get up. They're going to win at a price of 570,512.
Right.
Below their max. Remember, their max sales price was up to 580, but they don't quite have to get there. What also kills offer one is that subsidy, that $5,000. I mean, if that's what you're asking for, if that's what your buyer really needs to get to closing. So here, of course, listing agent can go back. It all comes down to the simple negotiation. The buyer agent offer one, say, hey, thanks for your offer. You don't quite win on the escalation math, but drop your seller subsidy. That might help. Raise your sales price. That's going to help too. So that's all the simple negotiation. Any questions on that? How that math works out?
Well, I think Kevin brought up a good point yesterday that I don't think you have to get into this deep discussion with the agent that loses, but sometimes, like we said earlier, I'm sorry you didn't win. And it wasn't because of price, it was because of we got a rent back, we don't have the seller subsidy,
Right.
and we have this. Yours is higher, but these non-financial pieces are what work, and the escalation clause is only about the financial piece.
It's correct. Yeah. Yeah. And there's the part of the escalation clause, which doesn't really have to say it in here, but
Mhm.
it's terms acceptable to the seller. It's not
Right.
just the numbers the sellers have to rely on.
Right, okay.
They can reject an offer for just really about anything, except for fair housing violations. But
right.
other than that, hey, you want to rent back, the other guy doesn't. All right, but I need to stay in the home for a few days.
Right.
Okay. Once you figure out who wins, you've done the math. Well, then you fill out this box on your escalation clause. It does say here, seller is to provide a complete copy of the other offer, which was used to escalate your price. Why? Why would the form say that? I mean, don't we just trust everybody?
No.
What? Wow, that was too fast. You guys said no. How many people said no? Yeah, well, I mean, trust but verify. That's really what it is. Yeah. If anyone refuses to give the offer, you guys, well, why not? What are you trying to hide? And this came up yesterday in our conversation too, is say you don't use this, say you strike it out for the escalation clause, and you make a counter offer with a higher price to send it back. The agent who gets that offer, they would be wise to still say, okay, thanks, Anthony, for sending that, but can I still see that other offer? Talk to your seller, make sure they're okay with it, but then sure, go ahead and send it over
Yeah.
as long as your seller's fine with it. Or price, this came up too yesterday. Can you as a listing agent tell the other offers, tell an offer what a price is on a higher offer? Is there anything bad about that? I mean, you're trying to get your seller the highest price, right?
Yeah.
So as long as your seller's okay with it, and for your own protection, talk to them, get an email, say, yeah, sure, of course, correct, go for it. Try to drive up the price, get more money in my pocket. Why not? Tell them what they got to beat. Why not? The blank lines here, pretty simple. The ones at the bottom are just filling in info from the other offer, the terms that were used to increase this one. Okay. Who completes it? Listing agent. They're the ones that have all the offers. The listing agent is the one who should complete that box and send it back. Okay. And using the example above, this is what we would end up with.
So when they send back this form, they have to send the offer also, right? White out the name, or just this is enough?
Good question. Yeah, it's really the whole offer. White out the name. Does the listing agent owe any duty of confidentiality to buyers who make offers?
No.
No.
And the thing is part of this is to demonstrate there's a real buyer name and there's a real brokerage name.
Transparency.
Right.
Thank you. That's the transparency piece.
Yeah.
You can't hide that.
Right. Yep. Good question.
And the contract says buyer understands the seller may show this to someone else.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Good question. How about this? Does the buyer have to initial or sign the escalation addendum so it's been completed? You get it back from listing agent. Do they have to do anything on that escalation addendum?
No,
It's already been signed. The buyer already signed it. It was part of their offer. Yep. What about page 1? Sales price on page 1, you got to change that. Price was escalated.
yes,
You think so? Yeah, usually it is, but the new price is already on the escalation addendum. So even if it's not changed on page 1, it's still binding. You'll often get a lender that requests it though.
Yeah.
And the escalation clause does say at the bottom, if you're still with me on the form, it does say, hey, if the third party asks, like a lender, everyone agrees, change price on page 1 too. Okay. And there really shouldn't be any pushback on that. Hey, you guys agreed. This is what it is. Let's just put it on page 1 as well. Other terms, and I just listed a few here, but these are just things that maybe won't work into the escalation clause calculation, but are worth considering. You're talking about contingencies. What about the HOA counter review period? I don't know if that would make someone not accept an offer, or how much buyer putting down, end of a rent back, if there is one at all, closing date. Seller like the closing date. What about EMD? You know, higher EMDs make offers more attractive. Someone asked recently, well, how much is a contingency worth?
Yeah.
You know, and this Kevin, when he was with us yesterday, he mentioned sometimes you'll get, you know, an agent will come back to you and say, this offer has got appraisal and financing. I know you don't have those contingencies, but your price is lower, so increase your price. And Kevin was thinking, well, wait a minute. Well, we have no contingencies at all. So what's that worth? And it's hard to, of course, put a dollar figure on that, but that's where it comes down to, you know, price is one thing, terms are another. And I said to Kevin, okay, well, one thing you could do is we'll go ahead and throw in those contingencies. Then I said, all right, you want a higher price?
I get a higher contingency.
Then I'll get contingencies to protect my buyer.
Yeah.
So that's
It's
just
clever.
down to the negotiation. So not too bad, right?
No,
We got it.
is that it?
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really it.
Cool.
Any questions? Anything you guys are so curious about? How to do this, the escalation clauses? Oops.
I'm gonna pull up my can y'all see that online?
Mm-hmm.
Excel spreadsheet? Okay,
Yep.
great. Thanks, Julie. All right, so this is a spreadsheet I put together, which has, I either put the name of the buyers or the agent and their offer price, any concessions in Maryland, their transfer taxes, any pest inspections, the buyer agent fee, and each fee, as you see in here, I've put a different set of bananas here. And this is an actual calculation. So if you look up at the top, this one has it at that percentage, a different percentage here. And then it provides the net price. But then I also have, well, what's their escalation increment? What are the home inspection, radon, appraisal, all of this, so that we can then in one sheet look at what the price is going to look like in the net. But as you see right here, I think I did. Yeah, I made these all 2.5, these two high ones here to show what you had. So this is actually 2.5 and this one's 2.5. So that you saw that with this $5,500 seller concession, the rate, what you're having to do is to beat this one out. So it's, if this one's going up $3,000, I have to be at 549, 625, right? So I have to figure it out. 549. Now I need another $100. So is it 358? 274. Okay, need a little bit more. So this is what you'd have to do with this calculator, is just keep going up till you get to this 625 number. That's why you're saying it may not be as clean as you think. I think I needed what, 725? Is that where it was? 631. Bang. That's about the number. 725, let's say 22. Because it's calculating this for the compensation every time I change. And there's the number. All right, let's go down one more dollar to get the exact price. If I have to get the exact price. All right, so it's $1 off. So the sales price on offer 4, with the compensation the same for each agent, and the other Rajneesh is having a $5,500 seller concession. My price has to be, what is that? $563,719. So what you're telling to the buyer is, the buyer, excuse me, well, I had to increase yours, even though you're at a $3,000 difference. Your price is actually what's that? $8,000 more, and that's what he's talking about. And when the buyer agent sees what you're sending over, you need to have this calculation right. We just had this happen recently. She said, "Wait a minute, your number's wrong because we said 1,000 over net, and somehow the calculation was right." And her price came down. But the buyer agent was vigilant to make sure that this calculation had been done correctly. So I've used this with the new system a couple of times now. And that what I just did on offer 4, having to find the exact number, that's what I had to do to make sure that I didn't go over their maximum price, but that I only came up the $3,000 over. And then the seller looks at the two of them. Okay, this is what it would be like. This person's putting down 25 grand on their EMD. He's putting down 5,000. He's 7 days on the home inspection, 5 days info only, just home inspection. They want to renegotiate or write to terminal aloud if repairs exceed $3,000. Okay, well, maybe this one, because of that, this one is better because of the situation. Yes on radon, none on appraisal. All right, no appraisal. And in this house, I don't have the starting price. It was like 525. So at 525 with no appraisal, I'm at 555, and it's a sure thing. versus the 563 who has an appraisal. So you can see how this sheet can help you say, well, wait a minute, it is $8,000 more, but what if we're off on our appraisal and it comes down to 554? Now we've lost money because we didn't go with offer 3. So I'll send this out, send out David's PowerPoint, but any other questions on what we got here?
Yeah, so all this stuff is very helpful, but it's mainly from the seller's perspective, what to do if you're lucky enough to have these competing offers.
Right.
What we haven't talked about is when you're representing a buyer, whether it's smart to submit an escalation clause, because then you've disclosed how high you're willing to go, and the seller is not obligated to play along with the escalation game. They can simply counter at your highest price.
Right. That's true. And that's what we're some listing agents, they don't want to do what we just did here.
Right.
And they say, send me your highest and best. Then you got to look at your buyer and say, well, there are 4 other offers. What's the most you'd be willing to pay? And let's put that there.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it.
Okay.
I used to like escalation clauses when I was representing a buyer, but
I think we had a speaker issue here. Anyone say anything? You're not coming through.
I mean, it is a drawback. Can you hear me now?
Boom. All right. Okay,
And
yeah. All right.
can you hear me, Anthony?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yes. Mhm.
Okay, and one other thing, David was saying that you should feel free to disclose when you have competing offers what the highest other offer is. But if I'm on the listing side, I don't usually do that, and most listing agents don't do that because we don't want the other buyer to just beat that by a token amount. So it's rare you get the exact amount you're competing against.
Right. That's true. Where this question came up is because if you ask a listing agent, look, what do I have to beat? It's blind here for me to just give you my highest and best. You're at 550. Sure, I give you 750. Is that high enough? I mean, come on. What's your help me out here? And it used to be that you could not tell buyer agents what your highest offer was. And in 2006, NAR changed that. So it is a strategy you can use, but the reality is someone can escalate way too high and you know it's not realistic. Unless they're waiving appraisal and have plenty of cash to make up the difference. There's various strategies on that, and I think you have to work with your buyer to determine which is the one that they're willing to go with. All right. Anything else? I'll be sending these out a little bit later. We're continuing in our contract class, but thank you all for coming out. Appreciate everyone online.
Thank you guys.
And,
It's great.
Sure. I'll talk to y'all later.
Thank
Y'all
you.
can just hang up because I'm leaving this on for the folks that are coming back to the contract class, and we're dealing with Virginia. So see you guys
Thank you,
later.
Anthony. You're the best.
All right. Sure. Take care. Bye.